welcome back to the Seven Frequenceas podcast, episode
6.
So, today, we've got... Right.
Can we cut that
Sanaa,
out?
can you please?
Can we cancel Sanaa? Like, as...
Anyways, if there's any silence in the podcast, it's because we've muted whenever Sanaa speaks for the rest of this hour.
Yeah. This is called
Silencing
racism.
Okay.
Well,
anyways.
actually, I don't think that's a good idea. But anyway.
Okay, so...
Sorry.
Anyway. So today, we're talking about film and music again, because I feel like they're enormous topics, and both of those episodes we don't really get to finish the extent of those discussions, so we just kind of wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
Should we say who's here? I'm here, I'm Fredi, I'm here.
That's good, you're
I'm
here. That's good. I'm Serena.
I'm Amelie.
I'm Sanaa.
I'm Charis.
I'm Hyein.
And I'm Kit.
That
I'm
was
like
I.
really far away from the mic, so like I'm gonna shout
I
basically.
mean, you can move the mic in the middle.
No, I just feel like this for
Okay.
the rest of the episode.
Alright.
Kit's very angry, so...
Oh.
Yeah, and I
Anyways.
thought specifically today we could also talk about like our own creations as creatives
Yeah.
in regards to like film and music.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just wanted to... I feel like we left the music episode. We were like, oh, also music as protest is a thing. And I just thought that's an interesting thing to talk about. Because, yeah, I feel like the kind of like rhythm of music really gets you, like, can get you really riled up and like aid the kind of like rage that we're all feeling, and that kind of ties into what we'll be talking about next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that kind of thing is very necessary, obviously, at the moment. But yeah, kind of. I love when there's like drums at a protest and stuff that like help the
Yeah, and they have
the
like
slogans and
obviously
stuff.
like the slogans to like beats,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
why it's
yeah.
like catchy.
Mhm.
Also like chants as well, just in general
Yeah.
when people protest. That
Yeah.
is another thing too.
I know that also with like artists using their platforms to sort of release music to support, you know, certain issues in the world. Like, for example, Olivia Rodrigo recently released a cover of the song Help. Wait, no, Help is the album name. Book
that's
of
the
Love.
That's the War Child Records.
Yeah,
Help 2.
yeah, the Book of Love. She covered that song to help raise money and to support critical fundings for children living through conflict.
I was actually listening to some songs on that album today.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a thing they do every few years? War Child
there was
Heroes or something?
Maybe, but
Yeah,
I know
I feel
Help
like-
was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
90s, and then this is like the second time they're doing it.
Oh, okay. I think there's been a few different ones.
I'm sure there have definitely.
But yeah, and then, you know, like, I feel like pop music especially is maybe like the easiest way to like get through to the youth. And like obviously like, rap as well, and I feel like that can be done in a very dangerous way, like subliminally and stuff, and can really aid like negative, you know, messaging, but also can be used in a very good way.
There was recently, I don't remember if I talked about this in the other podcast, but like the Bad Bunny Super Bowl, and they were saying that it was quite a, you know, political decision to obviously have someone who's not.
He is American.
No, I know, but I mean like not like.
They wanted
Well,
to go
yeah.
South
English,
America.
sorry,
They got
Not
mad
white
that he
American.
was
Yeah.
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 And also, yeah, he was like speaking Spanish the whole time.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
a lot of people had issues with.
Like songs that aren't in English headlining the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he had the whole thing with the flags and
Mhm.
stuff, and
And
really highlighted
he
like
named
community.
a lot of the places, not all, but a lot of them, and everyone was really happy that they got some recognition, which is nice. Yeah, I was listening to that album a lot after the Super Bowl, like for the
Bad
second
Bunny.
time. Yeah, like the whole, but also, I don't know, I also heard about how that whole decision that they let that be was like, it was right after, actually I don't know if I should bring this up, but
No,
it was
yeah.
right after like the whole Epstein, like
Oh.
everything was released, right? So it was also like a way to shift attention But I mean, I don't know if it actually was that calculated, but it did shift attention in a lot of ways. Like, me included, I was like low-key the week before that, I was like, my Reels feed was so dark, and then suddenly it was just like, Nueva York.
Yeah.
Baby tira.
No, like, I swear, for like a whole week, like, my feed was genuinely the most depressing thing.
Yeah.
Like, every other reel I'd scroll, it's like, this new thing happened in the Epstein file. Not new, but like, this new thing, like, appeared in the Epstein files.
Yeah, this was released today.
And it was like 2 a.m. and I was like depressed. And I was depressed. I was like, why am I keep scrolling? And then I finally put my phone down and I stayed awake for the next hour, just like, that's all.
I deleted Instagram and TikTok at the start of the year, so I actually didn't. It's maybe
That's
the
really
first time there's
good.
something that huge I haven't seen through social media
That's
through
really
that
good.
very like particular lens, and so everything I read about it was like the odd like Guardian article, and it's very like kind of distilled. Like I didn't actually get much information from what I was reading.
No, I think because I was looking through newspaper articles for like my family, because my parents don't have like social media, so I was telling them all these things, and they were like, what are you talking about? They're not talking about this in the news articles. And I'm like, that's really interesting. Like there are people, like, obviously there's so many people on Instagram that are like showing us the files, like screenshots of the files with all the pictures and stuff, and then the news is like kind of just ignoring it, or not ignoring it, maybe purposefully, like
No, I think there's a lot to be said about censorship and like the quote unquote freedom of social media in regards to like what you can upload and what you can post. That like it is a very real thing where a lot of times you say news that you've learned and they're like, where'd you learn that from? And then you say, oh, TikTok or something. But genuinely you do get a lot of informative news from, obviously there are unreliable sources, but there are also reliable sources that tell you so much, which news articles can specifically choose not to tell. And or like, you know how there's usually like right-wing newspapers and left-wing newspapers and stuff, so it's like they always show a sort of like more biased story in some way, or they hide stuff that does not show people in a good light. So it's a very interesting thing, I think, social media and how people are able to just post what they want and it'll reach usually the right audiences.
I would say the same about like the Palestine conflict. But actually, interestingly, like I delete Instagram like every so often when it just everything gets too overwhelming. But actually, if I delete Instagram, I stop hearing a lot of things because the legacy media just doesn't engage in the same way that you would on Instagram, because there is that lack of censorship, for good and bad, obviously. Like some things, as we said before, like sometimes you don't want to see all that stuff, or like, you know, it just becomes too overwhelming. But if you just follow kind of BBC, if you just follow The Guardian, then there's so much stuff that you miss. It just doesn't generally show like the full story.
I would say though, like obviously even our feeds are like catered to us, like it's
absolutely.
very much your algorithm, which is something that's like scary to me, because like I don't know, I keep thinking I'm getting fed exactly what I want to like what view I have, which is, it's just making my view stronger, which sometimes, like if I'm just wrong or uninformed, it's a bit problematic. But coming back to music though, Bad Bunny, he said, I don't know what exactly he said, but he said something like love is the only thing stronger than hate in his like Super Bowl, like at the end or something. And I just really liked that whole sentiment though. Like it was still a great performance in my opinion. And I love, like I also think like dance is something, like all of the songs are very like, well not all, but some of them, like obviously the dance was a big part of it, and that's like nice. I don't know, it's just,
I actually saw a bit, well, I mean, my friend had a debate with her other friend about the whole Bad Bunny thing, and they were saying that like actually they think that like putting is he Puerto Rican?
Yeah, his
Yeah.
like ethnicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Artist on that like massive broadcast is almost doing the opposite in making it, she was like, it's going to make people think that like America is accepting when it's not or something. And they like had this really huge debate about it, and they actually low-key fell out about it anyway. But I do think that like on such a huge scale it is okay to have fairly like non-nuanced like ways of protesting, you know what I mean? Like I feel like what he was saying is fairly like tepid in terms of like protest, but it also like that's kind of helpful, and that's kind of the point of pop music a lot of the time anyway, isn't it? Is to like, you know, give these very like digestible statements. Yeah, I mean he's not going to go up there and give like a political speech, is he? Like he's not a politician.
No, I feel like it's like the idea of music bringing people together or bringing a certain community together, because I think you mentioned before, but like music is such a big part of different cultures and different communities, and it's something that has existed for so long as a way of like forming connections and bonding. So I think the sort of power of community as a way of protest as well through an art form, like you mentioned, like Bad Bunny's not a politician, but obviously he's a musician, so he does what he can via his art form and his sort of like skill, talent, to then bring attention to something so much bigger than himself. And I think that's like one thing that music can do, because also like the emotional response that music can evoke is so strong. And
when you're being fed so much like politics and this, it all gets a little bit like linguistic, like it feels very like, it feels like a very back and forth, you know, like
something that like supersedes just like speech.
Yeah. And I think it's important to like obviously like remind yourself what's actually happening, and that it's not all just like a culture war, you know, it's more than that. But also, you know, it's important to like reawaken those senses and emotions through music and film as well.
No, I think like music and film as a media and a piece of art that people pay to listen to and watch, it's a really good way of raising money as well, because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to like go through the effort of, you know, like donating to a specific charity, or sometimes people are like, I don't know if this specific account is like going to the right people, and obviously they're reliable sources, but things like just like streaming music, which is such an everyday occurrence for most people, is something that would seem a lot easier than actively going to, you know, donate. But then you are still contributing, you are still donating just by like streaming or watching or like buying a cinema ticket, stuff like that. So I think,
I was just Googling, we were talking about community and music and how we can use music as a form of protest. And I was just thinking about obviously the parallels between now and like the 1970s. There were these concerts in the UK to fight the National Front, who were like a fascist group effectively. And it was called Rock Against Racism, and the whole idea was like trying to fight kind of fascism through uniting lots of people together. And just trying to think, like, I guess at like national protests now, a lot of the time music's used in that same way. Like in the student protests, there was that Macklemore song about Hin Rajab. I think it was called Hin's Hall. But that was in the student protests, that was used as like, you know, you'd kind of have big speakers and that would be kind of blasting out. And I think that song also was used in that way to like raise money for like different, I don't know what the specific charity was, but yeah, like music can be so important.
I actually just realized I have that song in my playlist.
Yeah.
I did not realize.
It's like a really popular song.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's become this kind of anthem for the protests, and it's played like still at every single protest I go to. And it's kind of international as well. Like when I was in Paris, I found myself in like a few protests, like because I was just walking around and like you'd find yourself because you know it's so like tense everywhere, but that song is playing everywhere, like it's across borders, I guess, and you see videos like of kids in Gaza dancing to it as well.
No, that's a really good point of how like music is something where you don't have to necessarily understand the language to understand what it means or like the emotion it evokes, or also just like you always, I guess, what's the word, like when you hear a song you think of something, you know, like, so it's like if you relate a song to a certain event or a certain issue, it then becomes like you'll just get reminded of it easier just by hearing it, and then
maybe like a stupid example, but my mind went to One Last Time and then like Manchester.
It's
like there are that's I think that's quite common that like a song kind of becomes symbolic of the resistance to something.
No, I think it's really interesting that, well, not interesting, but it's quite sad that music as such, like a celebratory event, is the main target for so much, like not so much, but for like terrorist attacks and bombings. It's just because there are a lot of people there, and it's quite sad. Yeah, that's like something that's supposed to bring people together. People then will want to like see that as a negative thing or see it as something to,
But I feel like that with like most large gatherings,
That's true.
you know, like they're always going to be the target of something. Even like high streets, I would say, like, you know, anything where there's lots of people.
I was really scared of that moving to London, actually. I don't know why, because like there's terrorist attacks in every city in the UK, but like something like I remember the first time I went to O2, I was like freaking out, and then CJ was like, "Fredi, shut the fuck up."
No, but like I think as well, I think I remember talking in performance about like the 7/7 bombings, and I think I was the only one who knew what the 7/7 bombings are, and like to me that's such a big thing. Because
wait, can you tell me? I don't know.
So I think it was, was it 2005 maybe? Let me just look this up. Let me clarify what year it was.
It was 1785. So,
yeah.
So Kit was
back when I was about. It was the 7th of July 2005, and there were, I think it was multiple attacks on like the underground, on a bus. But like that's such a big thing, and I know I was like, I don't know, it was talked about a lot, and I think early 2000s it was such like a big thing. I don't know, it's just like a massive part of living in London, like the history of living in London, I think, like that threat at least.
Do you remember was it like the London Bridge?
Yes,
yeah. I actually have a friend that was there, like,
oh my
working,
god.
and he was like cycling through, and he hasn't been back to London since, bless him. He was like really traumatized by it.
I mean, my friend got on the my friend's dad got on the train after the one that was exploded in 7/7. Like he just missed that train, so like I guess that's almost why it's, because it was the Piccadilly line, I'm pretty sure. So it's like our line.
My dad was in a terrorist attack.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, but it wasn't in London, so I don't know if that's...
No, you talk about it.
It was in Bali in 2002. It was the Bali bombing, and he was there for a rugby tournament, and he was representing Singapore. And they were all in like one of the streets in one of the bars, just drinking after one of the matches, and then my dad said a strange man came to the bar and blew up the place.
Oh my god.
And all of the like, my dad lost a lot of his friends during that, but he got taken to the hospital by someone from like another team, and my dad told me like it took like hours to like, you know, finally be tended to by a doctor, so he was in like a broom's cupboard for like a night. And my mum was pregnant at the time with my sister, so in a different country, so I was a bit stressed. But yeah, it's a bit crazy.
I'm so sorry.
It's alright.
We had like there was like I think it was maybe 2023. There was this. I'm not actually sure. I think there was a lot of debate whether it was considered terrorism or not. I don't really know why.
Oh,
'cause
was it
isn't
the
terrorism.
man in the?
Yeah, there was this
Yeah.
guy. I think he was in a van and he like ran over 2 people and then he stabbed someone else
Yeah.
in Nottingham. And the stabbing took place on one of my friends. Or a couple of my friends lived on that street.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Was
because
Um,
they
two
were my
teenagers,
year.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 2
Yeah.
19-year-olds and then
Yeah.
I think like a 40-something
Yeah.
year old.
So bad.
And we were like at college that day and we all had to be like picked up and taken
That's so
home
sad.
because it was like not safe to go into the city centre.
Damn.
And the only way to get anywhere is in the city centre.
Yeah, because didn't he escape? I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
yeah.
he was
the
like
police,
out.
The police
Yeah.
took about 48 hours to find
Oh my
him.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, there was a couple of days of intense fear, but like yeah, luckily everyone was okay. But yeah, but it was really because my dad picked me and all my friends up and we had to drive to that street to drop some of them off and we were like,
Oh god.
this is really scary, yeah.
But I guess like feeding it back.
Sorry, yeah,
no,
repeat.
no,
Yeah,
like
repeat.
it's
Yeah.
it's actually like I think it is really quite relevant.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Especially at the moment, like we feel like we're living kind of in this really like. I mean, it feels on edge. Everything feels on edge. So I guess like.
I think film and like recording cameras as a form of like political journalism or just being able to record evidence of this happening has become so crucial in like just as well as like not even just people who have the actual jobs and authority but just being a member of the public witnessing something and being able to record it and being able to get that
No, I
on
like
visual
I think as well, like if you think I don't want to always bring it back to Palestine, but this is like the
Right.
first
Yeah, no, I was gonna say.
the first recorded, witnessed fully on social media genocide that
Yeah.
there's been.
Yeah.
Like we fully see it every day what's happening
Mhm.
and still like nothing is getting done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say like with people in like actual Gaza and people in Palestine, they're able to, record themselves and record what's happening to then be like, this is literally happening to me right now.
Yeah. Same with
Like,
Iran
help.
as well.
Yeah.
Like in the Iranian protests, like although there was a internet blackout, like brave young people were effectively like finding ways to get footage out, like to media across the world. So it's so important.
Yeah.
But the fact that there was still like denial from these politicians that
Yeah.
it was a genocide and it's like,
Yeah.
well, we've seen it, like
Yeah,
we know
there
that it
still
is.
is as well.
Yeah. No,
Like
yeah,
people will
literally.
still say.
I say was that
Yeah.
is.
No, literally.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. But also, yeah, important that film as a kind of act of evidence and like preservation, and then to link into our creative practices. Maybe on a slightly lighter note, I was thinking about like archives again, like
Yeah.
about like. Oh my god! Sorry, I just got a cramp in my thigh.
No.
Sorry, it's gone.
That was really fast.
Oh my god, that was so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Scared me for a second.
I thought he fell off his
That
chair.
happened. That happened on holiday in Lisbon, and they all thought I was having an anaphylactic shock. Because I just couldn't speak. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking about like who whose stories are getting archived. And now it's a lot better that minority groups are able to have their stories preserved and archived and told through these various mediums, which the internet is also really helpful to share those
Yeah, because also
things.
like the internet is forever. Like you can discuss a topic and it's on there forever. Well, obviously in like some cases, I don't know if you get cancelled, boo-hoo, but like for like political things, like sometimes it's good if you're trying to like raise awareness.
No, I was gonna say that, and visual like recorded media also is like concrete evidence, as in like how in past history people can write stories and they can write what happened, but you don't actually know if it really happened or if there's any like biased version of what happened. But then as I was thinking that, I was gonna say, well, AI, because that can then warp or even just make up a lot of visual media that's not actually real and gets misinterpreted as being real. So we're actually kind of a quite dangerous Or in like scary time of media and AI.
I mean, also like those who like control the social medias get to, you know, show what is being shown and not. I mean, I don't, obviously they have a lot of control, but we don't know how much control they actually have. And
I mean, one of them is the richest man on the planet.
Oh yeah,
so like,
obviously.
like he's probably got quite a lot of control.
But like when you post something, you don't know like, oh, am I being watched? Is my content being censored because I'm promoting like pro-Palestine things?
Yeah,
and, you know.
Well, like that's like a really good point, especially because like with increased policing, they can literally go through like your social media and pull out something that you might have liked. I think there was this case recently where a guy was arrested while he was on a Zoom. But he literally hadn't said anything. He was he was literally just and then they came and arrested him.
I literally saw one yesterday, and it was this case. This guy had he killed his girlfriend, and in court they managed to find that like the day after he killed his girlfriend, or maybe the day of, he had consulted ChatGPT to ask what to do, and they pulled up like everything he said to ChatGPT.
I saw that.
Which was like, I think that's crazy, because I think as you were saying, like AI is just so embedded in like every day now. Like in the new Scream movie, like they have a whole plot about AI.
Really?
And I was like, the fact that that's like.
But boycott the new Scream movie as well.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Wait, why?
They fired an actress for speaking out about Palestine.
It was Melissa. It was Melissa something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Boycott that then.
she got fired, and then Jenna Ortega quit like right after as
Oh.
well. So yeah.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was gonna say, like, this kind of going back to like the terror attacks but like I feel like most major big cities or something have had like a lot of these incidents, and with Mumbai there was one in 2008. It's like the most famous one. I think it's like 26/11 for us. And I wanted to add about like the whole like film thing. I don't exactly remember, but obviously we like learned about this and like did stuff about this in school, and like essentially the whole attack, there was one of the biggest attacks was on this hotel in like, I don't know, this really famous hotel called the Taj, and there was like live media footage, right, like throughout while the attacks were happening. And that's kind of interesting, because that kind of didn't work in favor sometimes, because even like the terrorists kind of knew about where people were or like what was going on. Like it was like, I don't know, I think live recording of like footage is also sometimes like I don't know, it can put people in danger as well. Like
It's like, you know, like doxing and stuff, and people like celebrities or like influencers often have to like hide their actual locations. And well, obviously with live footage, it's like someone can find you literally in like a millisecond. It's really
and
scary.
obviously it's like difficult for the media as well if you're like live in that situation. You don't really know how you're supposed to handle it, so there were a lot of like discussions on that, because obviously later people were like, they shouldn't have been like speaking about this live, or like, you know, giving this news live, and it was the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like also with like when there's like incidents, not necessarily terrorist attacks and whatnot, but nowadays I feel like people are so obsessed with filming it that they kind of lose this urgency to sort of find safety.
It's like the bystander effect amplified, where it's like, this is a visual representation of the fact that we're all just watching and like not doing anything.
Yeah, because wasn't there I can't remember, there was like literally so recently the fire at the ski chalet in and like half, there was so much media about it, but half of it was just all of them stood still filming.
And that's why they like literally couldn't get out.
They were all just filming.
Really? And I saw like videos of that, like it would just the recording was like, you know, they were just seeing like fire, and it
there
would
was
just
like no
stop.
urgency to get out.
It was kind of
I mean, I guess it is important to document these things, but obviously you should prioritize getting out of the actual
Yeah.
situation first. But like,
And getting others out of the actual situation.
Yeah, no, I think I was gonna say that everyone's become so comfortable holding their phones and being behind their camera that instead of actually like you'll see so many people filming but you won't see anyone actually helping the person.
Yeah.
You'll just see everyone kind of standing around and be like, oh my god, look, this is happening. Okay, but then why are you just looking?
yeah,
Like if you're actually there, do
be an
something.
active bystander.
I actually had a kind of similar experience the other day to this, where I was on top. Something weird always happens when I'm on Tottenham Court Road, like every single time. But I was like waiting for the bus for like 20 minutes. It took so long, and I was late to work. Anyway, regardless, I was like watching these two people having this fight, like not physical, like, and then the guy I think spat at this woman, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna hurt you, I'm gonna stab you, and no one's gonna help you." And then she was like, "Look at all these people watching, they're not gonna do anything, look, they're not helping you." And she kept saying that, and I was like, "Yeah, we're not." Like, she's got a point. Like, we were all just like stood there staring. I was like, I literally don't know what to do in this scenario. And then I got on the bus and I felt really bad, but I was like, well, yeah.
I mean, I also think this is like intrinsic fear that if you step in you're gonna get hurt as well, and
which is like you might,
yeah,
like it's fair enough.
and like you are technically, I guess, safer just and still being somewhat helpful by recording, but I feel like
it's when it becomes like a herd mentality thing. Sorry, I hate that phrase, but like, you know. Have you any of you guys seen Black Mirror?
No.
Like
I've
how
watched
what
those.
episode?
I've watched all of it.
Oh really?
Oh.
Do you know? Oh my god! Hey. Do you know what's it called? White Bear.
Could you describe like
So basically,
I don't
this
know.
woman wakes up and she's in this room. She doesn't remember her identity. She doesn't remember what's happening, and she like goes outside and there's all these people like with phones like recording, and they all
What
walk
the
around
hell?
following her, recording her. And there's like, I think there's like things that are coming for them and like trying to kill them, and they're all having to run away. But every time that happens, people just like follow and just record, and everyone's recording everything. And then it's sorry, I'm just gonna spoil the episode for you. Actually, no, I won't. But
I remember watching this, but I actually like forgot the like because this is early on in the series. But yeah,
well, there's like
I
a
remember
twist.
watching this, yeah.
But it's kind of just about like voyeurism, really. But yeah, we are all becoming very voyeuristic, I think.
No, I think the internet is like, and like online stuff is such like a double-edged sword, because at the same, like at one side it can really be helpful and it has made like activism a lot better, but then it is also so like, what's the word, like restricting in a way that like we become so safe behind this, and it can be so dangerous with technology.
Also, guys, I spoke about this in my film essay, but like basically because of like things like, especially in film, violence is so glorified and aestheticized that we kind of become complicit in sort of just being able to watch and feel detached. And I was talking to Hyein about this the other day when we were writing essays, but like we're all strangely like, we're so voyeuristic in terms of we can watch a film and watch someone get like murdered in the most graphic way, and just feel like, oh my god, that was like a cinematic masterpiece. And then if that happened in real life, you know, like it's, I don't know, a completely different reaction. And it's the same with like you're watching people have sex. It's like on the screen. It's just, it's such a weird feeling, but we're all so complicit in sort of just watching and being fine with it.
I think there's a sort of like, like a safety in knowing that this is recorded and knowing that this is far away from you actually, because even like watching like Kit's performance today, you know, at the part when like baby was like smashing the bottle and Kit's like screaming on the floor, like that was like really jarring to watch and to hear. It was like really jarring to like watch and hear like right in front of me. So I feel like there's also the thing of like distance and the screen being like, you know, that this isn't actually affecting you.
It is like a shield, like it's like you're holding the shield,
so I feel
like
like
protecting you from everything.
Like seeing it at like violence in any form right in front of you would still be so, but I agree, like we have become so just like desensitized to seeing so much graphic imagery.
My favorite thing to do is watch a film, and this sounds really awful, but like is to watch a film and think about all the like the side extras that just die, and like think and then like create stories about like they would have had a family and like that kind of thing, because it is like, yeah, like you
sounds
become
fun.
no, it's my favorite pastime. No, but like actually, if you think about it, if you watch, it just creates this level of like, yeah, we're so used to having this kind of voyeuristic lens, like being desensitized to violence, and then you think about the actual personal kind of relevance of death to anyone. Like, I know they're just characters in films, but then you think about the real life context of it. Anyone dying, they're gonna have people that care about them. They're gonna have, have had a life, like gonna have family, gonna have friends. Like, we always need to remind ourselves that like these are people. They're not just like extras effectively.
But I also think, like you're saying, like I think there are ways to resensitize yourself as well. And like, I feel like I really became aware of this whole issue because I got really into like true crime podcasts and stuff. And like this YouTuber called Ellen O'Neill, who like kind of got into a bit of trouble because she was like doing this tour, and she was like going to tour and like talk about these true crime cases. And she was like, come and see my tour and we can like figure out the mystery together of who killed this family. Like, and it would be a case from like 20 years ago. Like, anyway, but I was really into her, and I was like, this like level of like distance is so much less wide than I think it is. Like, we are so close to, to these people. And I don't know, I was like, I like started thinking that, and I couldn't watch it anymore because I'd like disturbed myself almost. Like, I was like, why am I fascinated by this? And then I had the same thing with like gore in movies. Like, I used to love horror films, and now I kind of can't watch them anymore because I'm like, I don't want to watch blood and violence. Like, I feel like that's not good for the psyche. Which is maybe like, that's like a whole genre of film that I've just like shat on. But like, like I think there is the part, kind of not protecting, but like, thinking about what you are watching and how it's subconsciously affecting you. And I think like when you see blood and death, like, it should be shocking and it should be awful and it should make your stomach turn and it should make you angry, and I don't think it should just be something that you scroll past.
It shouldn't get to the point where you're like watching like real footage and thinking about it in the same way as like movie footage. We shouldn't get to that point. We shouldn't allow ourselves to get to that point.
Well, it's also like just like the amount of exposure, like not even just in film, but like, and also like TikTok, Instagram. Like I saw a video the other day about these teenagers who are like 14, 15 in America. They got arrested, and it was the footage in the back of the police car, and they would like, what they did was they had planned to murder a boy in their class to like drink his blood and revive the spirit of the Sandy Hooks murderer. And they were in the back of the police car like joking, being like, oh my god, we're gonna like be a lesbian couple in jail together, and like it was like the most
in the
like
police car.
They were so excited at the fact that they were gonna get arrested, and that like it was the most weirdest thing in the world, and they're only like 14, and that's kind of a result of like the glorification of murder and like violence, and how much this younger generation is exposed to all of this stuff.
And it starts so young. Like, this is kind of what we were talking about in performance a little bit. Like, we're doing our performance on like play and childhood and stuff, and I was talking about how I looked after this kid for like a week, and he was 4, and his favorite toys were like guns and these like plastic machines that he would smash into each other, and I was like, this promotion of violence and like killing is instilled from such a young age. Like, it's so like, I think we're desensitized to it years before we realize that we are, like, I think desensitization.
Well, there's a lot to be said about like people who become like, for example, ICE officers in the US and like join the army in the UK or like in the US. Like, a lot of those are young men who have spent like, I don't want to generalize, but like they've spent their childhood playing video games where like you just shoot everyone you see. And there was that, I think it was Renee Good, people were talking about like that in relation to that, how like video games in relation to her shooting, where it just becomes the norm that you just fire a gun and that person, like, you don't even think of them as a person. And I think in her case, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say about this, but like in terms of ICE, I read this thing about how, like, the process of application to ICE and how easy it is to become an ICE officer. And so there are genuinely just like people who, well, it was this journalist who had spoken, I think she was a journalist, but she'd spoken outwardly about like opposition to ICE, etc. Like, she was, you know, very political in what she was posting online. She applied to be, like, to join ICE, and effectively, like, they didn't do any checks around like who she was, and then she missed the training thing that you're meant to attend because she didn't receive the email, and they still let her in, they still added her to the portal. And it just, like, I remember reading this and being like, yeah, that's exactly it, that's how easy it is to join. So obviously you're getting these young men who are like, they just want to shoot people, they just, that's what they want to do. So it's an easy access to like weaponry, for example.
I mean,
really scary.
you
it's
mentioned,
terrifying.
what was it, is it like a specifically school shooting? What was it?
Was that Sandy Hook?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No, just the school shooting and games reminded me of this specific game. I don't remember what it's called, but you're basically like, what are they called? Like extra armed police officers with like all the gear. I don't know what they're called, but you're like one of those, and you're like on a mission to save kids who are in a school shooting. And I think the game was to like show people how scary a school shooting really is, even if you're on like quote unquote the good guy's side. Because I'm pretty sure like the missions were like, oh, this specific thing, like this person is killing all these people, and you have to find the killer and you have to arrest them. And then like the whole game, like the set has like, it's extremely detailed. Like you have like drawings of kids, you have their names, like heights, who, like, you know, those like stars where like you give children like, oh, you were a good person, good student today, you know. So it was like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but like there are games that are like trying to bring awareness to like violent acts and like try to desensitize you, because I'm pretty sure the reviews of the game were like, this was like so real, like after the first mission I had to take a break from like just life. And yeah, that's all.
There's like a lot of YouTube videos, I think especially at the moment, surfacing of like interviewing American school kids about school shootings. They're so prepared for it. I saw this video
it's
where
like
a
the
girl.
drill that's as common as like a fire drill.
No,
like,
exactly. It's crazy how prepared they are and how many drills that they have to do. There was this one video of a girl who like pulled out her like wound care kit, and this girl was like 7, you know, and there are, you know, you see adverts for bulletproof backpacks. Like, how has it got to this point, you know? Where young kids are at threat in like the place which is meant to be safe for them.
And maybe more disturbingly, that a lot of the time the threat is other school children.
No, exactly,
Like,
yeah.
I think obviously you kind of want to demonize, but I think I feel so like upset for those kids with guns, and I'm like, they feel like that's their only way of expressing their feelings. Like that's, and I think conversations about like toxic masculinity and gender roles can become so petty, but I think when you put it into context, like that is what it's causing, you know, a lot of the time. And
well, it's like adolescence, right?
Yeah.
I
forgot about that.
Raising awareness about male toxicity.
That was a really good, like really well made show.
It was,
the kid was such a good actor.
He was
he was
amazing.
insane.
Owen
Yeah,
Cooper
he was
was
insane.
amazing.
That I think is the show that I've like had the most conversations about, actually. Like when that first came out, it was all people were talking about for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, also bringing the conversation kind of back to like the film and violence in film and music. There's this like, actually there's a couple Indian films that are really good, and one of them, it's called Gangs of Wasseypur. It's Gangs of Wasseypur. Thank you. It's like really violent, of course, and it's probably one of the most like violent films I've seen, in the sense that just a lot of gore and a lot of like, yeah, the way people are killed and like the stuff they show. But also it has one of the best soundtracks to a film I've ever seen, and it's really interesting because it's usually like kind of like the music is contrasting to the violence, and it's kind of like upbeat music. Sometimes the lyrics are kind of eerie, like it's unsettling, but it's still like, I don't know, it's really disassociated in a way. Like there's this clear difference between like the music and what's actually happening in the film, and I think that's really interesting because in a way it kind of shows how insane the situation is. Like it's very unsettling, but also like, I mean, I thought it was a great film and it was like cinematic and it was done brilliantly, but can you just keep showing that much violence like that? Like, is it okay if a film is like cinematography, like just it looks amazing and it's a good film, but I don't know if it's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying actually.
It's like every war film which sort of showcases like violence. I don't know, I feel like a lot of films that are like very violent, and especially with like gang films and war, they kind of, I don't know, just sort of present this idea that to die like a tragic death is like, I don't know, gonna make you a legend in a way, and it's like in that way. It's like ancient Greeks, you know, when they get killed in battle, they're like, I'd rather die a glorious death than like, you know, whatever.
I think, see, that's the thing though, this is kind of different. It's almost like in the way, what's the name of that film? Oh my god.
Which one?
The one where it's wait. Oh, Inglourious Bastards. Sorry.
I was going to say it sounded very Tarantino-esque.
Yeah, in a way, but a bit more violent, in fact, I would say. And the music is, well, better. But, like, that's the thing. It's just in the way that it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's okay to do that just because you're constantly aware that it's a film. Because it's so, like, different. But also, I don't know, like, I'm just thinking about, like, what you said about how it's, like, cinematic and, like, if I'm watching this and enjoying this, like, what does that say about me? Like,
makes good TV, like, if you really think about it. Yeah. Well, it's like the Hunger Games, you know? Like, the Capitol are comfortable watching people kill themselves for fun. But then again, are we just the same as the Capitol? Because we're watching a film about watching people watch people kill people.
Yeah.
So true.
Like the Squid Games again.
Yeah.
There's the whole thing of, like, they're doing this literally just because they're, like, the VIPs are rich and they want entertainment, but people are actually dying.
I mean, I also do think that there's like validity to the like human, like, morbid obsession, whatever it's called, what's it called? Morbid curiosity. Yeah. Which I think as long as you're like self-aware about it, it's fine. But I think when you're like, obviously, if it's anything more than that, then it's a bit like, but yeah.
I think there's this weird thing, like, with true crime podcasts, like you said, it's this desire to figure out something that has never been, like, you've never been able to figure out. There's just, like, this desire to, like, know and to figure out the mystery, which is so captivating to people, but then sometimes it's like, this is actually just fucking weird. Like,
yeah. And when it becomes, like, this, like, passion and this fascination, like, I would, like, and I'm, like, embarrassed to admit it, but, like, I had, like, my favourite cases that I would, like, watch the videos a second time and be like, oh my god, you know, and it was, like, the more, like, weird and gruesome they were, sometimes the more interested I was, and it was like this kind of like, I guess it's just this obsession with like deviance.
I also think,
but yeah,
as people who have grown up consuming media, we are then like, what's the word, like, manufactured to sort of find these things interesting, like bringing it sort of back to film and the idea of like film conventions. usually the films that are the most interesting, like, I don't know, in like mystery thrillers, for example, or murder mysteries, it's the fact that they keep you guessing until the end, and then like the big reveal is like, wow, that's so exciting. And I feel like if you've grown up sort of watching and following that sort of through line of action, it then like follows through into your real life, where you find mysteries so exciting, and you find like trying to figure out the unfigure-outable so much more exciting, because you're sort of conditioned to enjoy that reveal and to enjoy that to enjoy that like figuring it out and finally cracking it. And it's
and it's also like shock value, like I feel like so much of entertainment relies on shock value,
that's
and
true.
I think in an age of endless content, it's much more difficult to be shocked, you know. So like I feel like sometimes you will search for things that will like, you know, shock you, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Serena, do you need to?
I should probably go, guys.
Thanks, Serena. Love you.
Wait, I should go as well.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Sanaa. Love you.
Guys.
Bye.
Hey, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
I don't even remember what we were
No,
talking about.
Well, should we lighten it up a bit?
let's
Should we talk about, because we were going to talk about our own stuff. I mean, Kit, not to like bring up your traumatic film
Angry
experience,
camera.
your film experience, but I mean your film was sort of to do with protest and like
What my
music as
What, the
protest.
Stepney
you
Green
know?
one?
Yeah.
Stepney
Did
Sisters.
you wanna
Yeah,
talk
to be
about?
fair, the research was actually really interesting. I looked in the LSE archives, I looked in the UCL main archives, obviously with not the main archives, but Joanna took us to the archives with all the other spare ribs. I also had some conversations with a photographer who was working at that point in time. But I think generally, obviously, the women's movement in the 70s is just interesting. The amount, the archive footage is really interesting. I don't really know what to say, to be fair. It's just an interesting point in time, I guess, even in relation to like what I was saying earlier about like the rise of the National Front. The 70s actually is quite like a period of time which almost parallels what's happening at the moment with you know, reform, and it's similar to don't want. I just brought it back.
No, it's fine.
I mean, I was gonna.
Every time I hear reform,
I was gonna ask me like, music was a really big part of like, you know, the Stepney Sisters and sort of that movement. I think.
No, I think actually in relation to like music in the past, obviously it was made more in like an independent way than it's made now, and I think there was a lot more room to be more political, because people weren't aiming for like, you know, to get a record deal or something. People were just aiming to make music, whereas I think now like
money.
yeah, like it is all about the money, and people stop kind of making political music in the same way it was made back then, I think. I think obviously there are cases of artists, like I'm thinking of like Dave the rapper, like his lyrics incredible.
Is he from Nottingham?
I don't know. Potentially. Big up Nottingham. No, but Dave's lyrics are really incredible. Like, and when you listen to his music, yeah, like, I think obviously that's still an example of how music can be powerful, and the same with like that Macklemore track I was talking about before. Like, it has been used in a powerful way, but I think, like, if you think about punk.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up punk.
Yeah,
like, that's the most like you know,
and
thing I think of.
Yeah.
Like the Sex Pistols.
Sex Pistols, well,
Also Dave's from
very
Brixton.
controversial.
Just not human
Right.
at all. When I think of like musical protest, my mind always goes to Sinead O'Connor's. Okay, I want to talk about Ireland specifically. I want to talk about the famine.
Yeah.
Such a good.
But exactly, like where are the Sinead O'Connors now?
Exactly.
I mean, also
Yeah.
it's quite refreshing though, especially in like the rap scene, because I feel like whilst there are some songs that address like topics that need to be addressed, a lot of them are overshadowed by obviously like what we feel is popular. Like, and I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of songs nowadays, especially rap, a lot of songs are just about like sex and women and low-key the objectification of women, and that tends to overshadow other songs that highlight what's
important, which is very.
And rap is so inherently political as well.
Yeah.
And like I hate that when that is so true, but like whenever I bring up rap to my mum, she's always like, oh, I just hate that it's all about drugs and women, and I'm like, but it's just not though, is it? Like that's such a
that's really interesting.
part of it.
Like I think also I think Stormzy is someone who's
he's
very
political.
He's
yeah,
an
very
activist.
political.
He has a regime help
Yeah.
to set up black children from poverty to get into university.
Yeah, it's just like there are political rappers that just overshadowed so often.
But also how the rap movement, like in relation to politics at the moment, like I remember in the 2017 election, like how important it was to have, I'm pretty sure it was Stormzy talking about Jeremy Corbyn as a leader and who that brought then to the Labour Party at that point. Having people like that advocating for, you know, left politics, it's so important. And it's not really talked about that much. Like how speaking out as a public figure can be so like used in parallel with politics, with political movements, etc. Because it's like, you know, the amount of hours people spend listening to music, they create these associations with artists and ties, and it's that, what's that word where it's like you think you're connected to a celebrity. Parasocial relationship with like celebrities, so people feel so loyal and dedicated to these celebrities, so as soon as they come out and endorse something like Kneecap with Palestine and like Stormzy with Jeremy Corbyn, like those things are so important, especially with like bringing in young people who don't necessarily vote, for example, as well.
But yeah, it's also like because I think a lot of celebrities, like, it's good to use your platform if you want to help. And I think Billie Eilish at the Grammys used her award speech to raise awareness about ICE.
But she's been also like criticised for that speech in particular, in terms of people are then demanding that she gives up her mansion for like stolen land as well.
Really?
Yeah. So like there
And
are
also
all these.
Yeah.
There was a speech where she was like, if you're a millionaire, why are you a millionaire? And it's
And
like, well,
she's
you're probably
literally
$100,000 off.
I
And then she like the next day was like advertising about her perfume. Or
Yeah.
something. It's like $100.
Okay.
Whereas
$100
like
off.
I feel like because she's been spoken out, for example, about Palestine, I have respect for her, but I also I think
You gotta
'cause-
back up.
I mean, there's
You
always
have
going
to
to
back
be
up your
there's always going to
actions.
be a bit of a double standard
Yeah.
with fame,
Yeah.
isn't there?
I remember like a couple years ago, Taylor Swift released a song called "Only the Young," and that was, I think, maybe during the first Trump election, which was a whole thing. Like, there was a whole music video and stuff. And
Before she was
that's what I'm saying. Before she
Nice.
before she stopped speaking out about politics, when she used to actually be quite outspoken about politics, she released that song, and quite a good song. But I remember watching the video and I was like, this is quite good because it advertised like what you mentioned about how the young children are the people that can make change,
And her impact is like
Yeah.
It's insane.
incomprehensibly
It's
massive.
so like for at that point her actually using her platform to do that, it was quite significant. And I'm pretty sure I think Biden was in that music video. I'm not sure. I think there was a video of, but anyways,
Well, that's
that's
why, like,
interesting as well. But
Olivia Rodrigo is really good then, because
she
always
actually
constantly.
I think I remember all her concerts and
Yeah.
stuff were the concert tickets or something about the proceeds were going to a period charity, like something to provide women with supplies that they need. So I think Olivia Rodrigo, I would say, is quite a good example of someone who's been consistently helping some sort of movement or charity with her sort of success.
Hosey is really good.
Mm.
And his music is quite like political as well.
That's true.
It's the Irish and
That was
all
fun.
very,
So
all very political.
yeah, it is actually. I mean, I was going to say it is really interesting, but actually it's not if you think about the history. Like Irish artists have historically been quite outspoken and politically.
I listened to CMAT's newest album for the first time the other day, and I was like, oh my god, why haven't I been on this?
Literally.
It's so good.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
I was meant to go and see CMAT, then I got norovirus. And I couldn't go.
So
I know,
annoying.
it was, I'm so
Did you give your
upset.
tickets somewhere?
No, it was in Cambridge though. I know, I'm sorry, babe. They weren't mine. They were mine.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
yeah.
Okay, I feel like I'm going crazy because I can't find the music video now, but I
I'm not
swear
sure, I'm not
there
sure
was.
that's-
No,
True.
no, I
Wait.
swear there was one. Like I actually saw.
Not that only the anyone else want to talk about their practice, their creative practice, and if it ties into
I mean,
anything we've been talking about?
this is like so not to do with anything we actually talked about, but my film last year I made, it was like a film poem, whatever. And I filmed it. It was basically, I showed the contrast between Hong Kong as a city then to London. And I remember very specifically I made this really cool transition of like, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, it was like the Hong Kong skyline, and then I had my friend like walk in front of the camera, and it like darkened the camera, and then I had, I think it was like Duru or something, or myself, walk over the camera, and then it was like the London skyline, and I showed that, the contrast between that. And I kind of forgot what the film was about, but it was basically about trying to find somewhere in London which reminds me of home, and to try and like pinpoint these similarities between, like, for example, street names or specific like buildings and people that reminded me of home, and then that sort of contrast between London as a new city, as a foreigner, and then home, and how there actually are a lot of, well, I guess because Hong Kong was colonized, influences, but also like Chinatown, for example, there's so many references to like Hong Kong and stuff, so it's just that sort of like excitement, or be like, oh wow, like that's from where I'm from type of thing. But yeah, that's what I made my film about last year.
My film last year was sort of touched on like homelessness a little bit.
So did mine.
Yeah, just because I think that was maybe the most shocking part of moving to London for me, was there's poverty everywhere in the UK, but in London it's like unbelievable how many people there are in the streets, especially where I was living, like in the absolute centre of Bloomsbury. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really call it a form of protest. It was more just like a, you know, I was just like, oh, that's quite bad, isn't it, really?
I have a recommendation if we're going to talk about housing, which is when I was in secondary, I was kind of working with the people I posted, or was like spreading the word about the documentary that was on at Curzon like recently. I was working with that director, Frederick Gerton, and the UN Housing Special Rapporteur for Adequate Housing when I was in secondary, for their podcast that they started called Pushback Talks, which is about kind of the financialization of housing. But I was really into like housing rights activism. I'm still really passionate about it, but that's something that I'm... actually there's like a lot of, they talk about like Oatly, the brand of oat milk, and how that's related to this company called Blackstone. And actually Oatly is on the boycott list for Palestine as well. So
I saw that.
There's all these
They're very like
different-
greenwashed, aren't they?
so greenwashed.
Yeah.
Oatly's like one of the big boycott brands.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, Pushback Talks is another podcast which I would recommend very much. And their first film called Push, which is where the podcast came from. It's a really, really, really good film.
We'll do another like list of recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I guess like one thing to add as a final note is like whenever you're watching media or you're listening to music, think about the sort of media that you're consuming, and make sure that if it's anything political, that, well, I guess it's kind of common sense, but that it's, you know, reliable sources, or try and like if you have time, just like listen to music that can help. If any of like, you know, Palestinian artists or any proceeds that you know are going towards charities, because I remember like in the peak of like when the first like Gaza situation was happening, I remember seeing on TikTok a lot of Palestinian artists or like musicians are releasing songs that would then become popular, like TikTok audios. Then people would use the audios to then try and earn money for charities and stuff. So I think just sort of being aware, and also being, I guess, conscious of like certain medias that may be trying to change your mindset, or that might not be. Yeah.
And I think my advice would also just be, don't stick to the internet. Like, moving on from like that particular point, like start your questioning within the internet, and like start your research on the internet, but then expand it beyond that, and like actually, you know, with the next generation. I don't want to be like that old person who's like, with the next generation, you guys are the next generation, but like we are,
We are.
Yeah, not me. Don't include me in this. I'm not 20 years older than you. No.
But no, we are. It's true.
Yeah, no, I think like something that I always do is if I see anything online, I then go and search it up, or like I go and try and find other sources to make sure that what I just saw online is actually like reliable or legit.
Yeah.
And just keep talking about it, like have discussions like this. Can I just give a recommendation also?
Go for it.
I just remembered there is this artist called Shungudzo, I think that's how you say it, and her like rise to fame is really funny because she was like a songwriter for like Little Mix and Anne Marie and stuff, and like Britpop. But she like then started making her own like solo music, which is so political, and her album came out like during the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think it's still very relevant. Well, obviously it's incredibly relevant, but I think her album is called I'm Not a Mother But I Have Children, and it's a really really beautiful body of work. But yeah, and then she's like a poet. I was like reading about her, and she said that when she was 7, she made this promise to herself that she would write a poem every single day of her life, and she's like stuck to that. I think that's so cool. But yeah, there's like a poetry intro and outro on that album that I think are very kind of quite impactful, and also to do with that kind of like chant, that rhythm kind of protesty thing.
I'm gonna riff off that in relation to what we were talking about earlier with the school shootings and just shootings in general. I know it's really depressing, but there's a poem by Andrea Gibson called Orlando, and it's, I think, about was it Pulse nightclub in Orlando? I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's about that particular shooting, and it's on Spotify. They recorded it, and it's an incredibly powerful listen. I would recommend a listen, but with the knowledge that it's very heavy.
Yeah. Cool. Any other recommendations?
I'm trying to think. Okay, this is like not the same topic, but I'm pretty sure I can't find it right now. But Jeremy Zucker, the artist, he releases songs, I think, about like the environment and the world, like obviously climate and the world sort of breaking down. And I want to say it's the song Natural Disaster, but I'm also feeling that it's not that one. But I'm like almost certain that he has some music which targets the sort of environmental issues in the world. And yeah, I like his music is good.
My other recommendations would be obviously Tracy Chapman. I don't know why I didn't think of her, but amazing album. I listened to that. I always listen to it on the coach back to Nottingham for some reason, and it just like, and
Gil Scott Heron, talking about a revolution.
Hamilton.
Yeah, true. What am I talking about? The revolution will not be televised. I was talking about a revolution. Yeah, literally.
Talking about. I also, this is really really random, but a Lily Allen song from like 2009 called Cabullshit, which is like, she's a bit of a controversial figure, I'm aware, but like it's a really good kind of like pop song about like politics. I don't know. Like it's, I like that song.
I feel like I think I might have a politics music playlist somewhere. I'll just share that.
Anyway, okay, should we wrap up here?
Yeah. Wait, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just googled the song. It's called "A Dying World" by Jeremy Zucker. So that's the one that I think.
Nice. We'll compile a list of these and post it on our Instagram. Okay, thanks for listening, guys. And once again.
Wait, I'm sorry.
3, 2, 1.
Sail away on the 7 frequencies. Sail away, sail away, sail away.